Hello, everyone. I know that I have only done one talk here, but I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Um, I wanted to talk about the greedy client and the healer, how our society is taking others' gifts for granted. Now, I actually just wrote an Instagram article today um, about divination and about the history behind divination, how it originated all the way back to ancient Greece and Rome, and how there used to be a big amphitheater um, where hundreds of thousands of people would just come and line up, waiting to speak with one of the four oracles. These oracles would sit out in the sun all day long, speaking with people, and they were giving this information away for free, but many people felt obligated to bring an offering, whether that be food, whether that be jewelry, whether that be something that they valued for that information. And this amphitheater out, in Greece, I believe it was called like the Temple of Delphi or something like that, Delphi. And so these oracles would just give information, but there were only four oracles for a huge region. We're talking hundreds of thousands of miles. And people really forget how wealthy we are in information now. We forget just how difficult it was to acquire information. People would camp out in these lines for months at a time to speak with these four oracles. And here we are, all complaining that we can't figure out our own lives when we just hop on YouTube, we just hop on a podcast. We are so wealthy in terms of information, of people openly, lovingly giving away their gifts without the expectation of reward. And everybody is aware of healer's syndrome. I'm sure you guys who are here listening have heard of healer syndrome. Um, it's such a weird thing that we expect healers to give away their gifts, to give away their insights, for them to use their energy for us for free. And that is an expectation that I can tell you so many clients have. They just think that oh, this is a hobby for you. Well, yeah, it's a hobby. Shouldn't you love the job you have? But it's not just a hobby. It is also my living. Like, I have to make a living doing this. And even as a life coach, where I had to go and get certified, and even as a massage therapist, where I had to go and get certified, I had to go and get insurance, and I have to pay for all of these certifications and the education. People expect this to be given at a discount. We are such a greedy culture now. And I'm not just talking America. I'm talking even beyond that, because on a global scale, we all are just expecting information to be free. And as much as I believe in that as like a core value that I have, like, I want to share my wisdom. I think that should be my mission, is to share what I learn in my life. I've been through a lot in my life. I want to share what I have as much as I can. But I don't think that we as a culture should be expecting healers to be doing that, especially when we came from those roots where those four oracles had to serve hundreds of thousands of people who would wait for weeks on end just to listen to the wisdom they had. Now, I haven't taken a moment and invited anybody up, but I would like to encourage you guys, if you do want to, you know, talk about your own experiences, whether you are the healer having those greedy clients, whether you are a coach that has run into the expectation, family members expecting you just to give away your services for free. I know that I have family that expect me expect me to give them massages for free. Like, yes, you're my family, but also support me, support what I do. I can barely get normal people to pay for me. Like, you guys should be the first on the bandwagon to pay for my services because you believe in me, because you know how good I am. You know, that that is something that we can't talk about because, oh my goodness, how dare the healer expect their clients to value them? How dare the coach expect their clients to value them? It is such a stigma that makes me hurt as a healer, who is here as a coach who is here to help other people see the value in themselves. I really struggle with that. Okay, so I do have a guest who wants to come on and talk. We have Dr. Brogan. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. I would love to have you on. Come on over. Thank you so much. They'll be joining us in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Rainbow.
Brogan.
You did say it right. It's Brogan. It's a sunny Brogan. So yeah, I'm just listening to the conversation. It just like I wish it was like 10 thumbs up buttons I could give you right now because you are hitting on
Thank you. Thank
something
you.
that I experience quite often, as you mentioned, from family, friends, and even from prospective clients coming through. I have clients want to have like these 30 to 60-minute consultation calls, right? And I'm like, no, that's not how it
Mhm.
works. Go ahead.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
once you hit that, 20-minute mark, that's when I tell clients, when I hit that 20-minute mark, I'm like, hi, I really enjoy having you on, talking to you, telling you about what I do, and, even just kind of giving you a pre-interview for our services. But I'm going to have to start charging at 30 minutes here. And it's going to start with $50. we're going to start at $75. We're going to go up from there if this, because a consultation should only take 10 to 15 minutes. You take more than that, and really you're not valuing
Yeah,
the person that you're coming to for expertise's time.
exactly. And you said 30 because I was about to say like 15 minutes is my limit. I'm done after that. It took me a while to get there, I will admit, because I do, like as a healer, as you were talking about, I just have this natural inclination that I want to help people, but I have to set boundaries for myself, you know?
Absolutely. And that's something I think a lot of healers, especially ones that are not getting formal education, you know, we shouldn't be required to, because I think a lot of people intuitively have, you know, incredible skills. But I think there should be a
Mhm.
standard. I think that healers do need to take some classes, whether it be in professionalism, in ethics, in understanding boundaries, not just boundaries of like setting financial
Mhm.
boundaries with your client and setting like, precedents for like how you expect your client to treat you, but also boundaries in like energy, the understanding the dynamics of energy and how when you are giving your time and energy to another person, that is an exchange, you know. So thank you.
Mhm.
I really
For
appreciate
sure.
your input. So I don't know how long you've been, tuned in, but what do you think about what I said in regards to like how we came from a time when in ancient Greece people would have to stand in line for literally months? Even Alexander the Great would go and he would bring his army and they would stand in line for literal months to speak with one of those oracles of Delphi. And then finally, when they did get up there, he would ask them about, like, oh, which land should I conquer next? And there's a saying, or it's been said that the last time he went there, the oracle told him that he would not fall from the sword, that his own body would fail him. And through his own arrogance, he defied them and he was like, you know what? You told me not to go to Babylon. I'm going to go to Babylon anyway. F you. And he went. And what happened? He caught malaria or typhoid fever and died. Like, he just didn't want to
Mhm.
admit that he could fail. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we have so much information
It,
available to us,
go
and
ahead.
people just take that for granted.
That hey, you just said so much
I know, I'm
in
sorry.
that one statement. No, no, no. I'm not. I'm saying in a good way. You said so much in that one statement. Like we have like a wealth of information, literally from all over the world. As you mentioned, somebody can go on YouTube or they can go on a blog and even platforms like this and ascertain information that is readily put out there for free, and then they still want to go to that next level and encroach upon somebody's time, right? Because I do a lot of content creation myself,
Yep,
just like, okay, here is the free knowledge that I'm willing to give you so that you understand the basis of what I do and who
exactly.
I am. But when it comes to you one-on-one personal
Hmm.
training, if you didn't get what you needed from what I already put out there, I'm going to have to charge a fee because that drains me. Even I try to explain to people on that end because I do life coaching, specifically business coaching, and I have a lot of clients who have this same challenge. They are unable to navigate that process of when do I charge or when do I cut this off from being a consultation. And what you have to understand is there's an energy exchange going on here. It should be. So if you're not getting paid, you're left with a void at that particular, and that
Exactly.
void.
It's one thing to have somebody call and say, "Hey, what do you do? Can you explain what this service is and what I get for when I pay you?"
Mhm.
And then you give them a little synopsis. And if there's something they need clarification on, great. Please ask so I can clarify. I want you to know what you're going to get for your money. But then after that, don't tell me your life story and expect me to sit
Mhm.
there like a therapy session. Like, if you want to pay a therapist, please, I'm sure they'll charge you about the same, if not more. Please go talk to a therapist.
More in many
I mean, I'm
cases.
not even qualified to be a therapist, so I get these clients who will sit there and tell me their whole life story. I'm like, you're wasting my time, please.
Even like what you're saying there, like people do that is therapeutic for them, right? Even if you're not offering guidance or advice, it just for somebody to be able to vent and to talk to another person. And people don't understand that dynamic. Like, even though you're talking to me, even if I don't say a word to you, that is my time that you're utilizing
Exactly.
here. Right. So I need to be compensated because then you just dumped all of this stuff on me. I have no way of retrieving it because there's an energetic exchange that needs to go about here. If you don't pay me, if you pay me, then I don't get that sludge on me that you just told me all of your 1,000 million problems, right? And so I need an
Right.
exchange there so that I can feel not only compensated within myself, but there's a spiritual component to this, to being paid for your services that people do not understand. So if you do not get that money, that void is left, and any negative energy is going to fall back on the person who did the work without receiving the compensation. But if you receive the compensation, that acts as a filter or a stronghold to keep that negative energy from coming back on you. And that's something that a lot of people, healers, they just intuitive. You just want to help people, they don't get that part of
Absolutely.
it. Mm-hmm.
No, and a lot of times healers are born into dynamics, whether it be their family or even like friend environments or whatever. We are born into dysfunctional environments because in order to be activated as a healer, in order to have your gifts activated, you have to go through trial. You have to have strife. Your system needs to be literally challenged to evolve into a way that you can predict other people's behavior. That is why healers can do what we do, is we are put into situations and family dynamics that are forcing us and forcing our bodies and our systems into a state of fight and flight to an extreme where we are having to almost predict our family's behaviors to keep us safe. And that's how healers are born. We're put in these
Mm-hmm.
bad situations, so, like, not only are we having to go through schooling and get all these degrees and having to get insurance and having to do all this, then we also have these clients who think, oh, yeah, you're just doing this for fun. No, I spent my whole life doing this like, because I'm passionate about it, but I also had to go through all this crap before I even met you. Like, please value me. Like, we shouldn't have to beg. We shouldn't have to make a case. You don't go to your doctor and treat your doctor that way. If somebody went to a doctor and didn't value his time, they'd be kicked out so fast. So fast.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. What gets me, Rainbow, is that a lot of people will pay for things that don't bring them any value, right? They'll
Right,
go out and spend over $1,000 on a purse, but if you ask them
right,
to compensate you for something that you did that's going to last them a lifetime healing, and they don't want
right. And it's
that.
not even healing, just guidance, giving them advice on their
Exactly.
life. And like your guidance, whether they take it or not, every time is embedded in their memory. And I promise you, at some point, they're
Mhm.
going to remember that conversation, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line. There will be a moment where that information will come up and will benefit them, and they will have to use it to improve the quality of their life. And that is why they pay us, is because you are
Exactly.
having a lasting, life altering effect on them. You know, whether you're a good healer or a bad healer, whether you
Mhm.
know what you're doing or whatever, I personally believe that there should be a standard. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll bring you back in just a second. There should be a standard for healers to be able to provide the care that all healers should understand the ethics and such. But man alive, you know, it is so hard. I have two guests waiting. Let me see. I'm going to bring Dr. Brogan on just for a moment. Hopefully we can wrap up what she had to say, and then I'll bring on Dr. Robert, okay? All right. Come on and join me again in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. I'm sorry I talked
It's
to the end of your time. I'm in the sun and I can't see the time
it's no
limit.
problem. It's no problem. I just wanted to close up and again just thank you, Rainbow, for the conversation because it is a beautiful topic that needs to be addressed. So I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you coming on, being vulnerable, talking about this controversial topic, because as I said earlier at the beginning, this is hard for healers to talk about because we feel bad expecting people to value us, which we
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't. And that only comes from
We
a
should.
wound, a healer's wound that we have.
I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna leave out now, Rainbow, so you can catch your other guests, but definitely still here tuned in, okay, my dear?
Absolutely. And feel free to jump back in after, at any point. I really appreciate everything you had to say. You have great insight. And I would love to have you on in the future as well.
For sure. Take care.
All right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Dr. Robert so he can give his advice, tell us a little bit about how he's feeling about the topic. And welcome, Dr. Robert. Thank you so much for joining me. How long have you been tuned in
From
to
the
the
beginning.
talk?
Uh,
Awesome. So you've heard it
from
all.
the
You've heard it all.
yeah, yes. Okay, here's a little story that stuck with me. Let me turn down my TV here. And when I was around 8 years old, my uncle would come over to the house and he would say, "A penny for your thought, James." I would tell him. He would encourage me to do it from whatever I was thinking of being a doctor to a truck driver. And give me the penny, then turn around and ask me, did I understand what he just said? I would say, yes, sir. Then he would say, okay, now tell me in your own words. Now, he did that with me from the age of 8 to the age of 11. And now that's something that stuck with me. Now, I really learned from that because now when someone asks me something, I give them a straight answer. I don't beat around the bush or joke or give them a curse word or something. I give them a straight answer. Some people to the point that they turn around and walk away. But just that,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, just that advice and information stuck with me. I live now in a 5-bedroom home on a half an acre, been retired 8 years, been married 28 years, and my biggest issue is getting out there playing in my garden. So that information really stuck with me, and it taught me. So
Taught you
to
to value
value
yourself,
myself. That's right. And I,
to value your
it,
time. And obviously, he was also teaching you to value his time too, because he expected you to understand what he was saying
exactly.
in order for you to earn that money. At which I almost think that we as healers, and as obviously you must be a doctor of some kind, as healers, as coaches, as doctors, as even as podcasters, like let's just broaden that. Anybody who has information to share, they work with clients one-on-one. I think we should hold our clients to a standard where they have to earn the information we give them. Yes, they're paying us, but like, what a waste of money if they pay us money, they don't take our advice, they take us for granted, and then they come back and expect to what? Pay me for my ear? Like, I'm not just a trash can for your feelings, which I know that's really harsh to say, but like, I can't tell you how many times I've had like massage sessions or coaching sessions where the people think that they're like hiring me to be their best friend or their therapist. And I find that a little offensive, to be honest, because I have all this information and knowledge, and I've been through so much schooling, and I put so much time into my education, and they just don't value that. Like, how absurd for
Yeah,
me.
that's right. Now, I found out I was dyslexic in the 5th grade. I went up to the board to spell the word Mississippi, but what I did is walk to the other side of the board and spelled the word backwards. The teacher said, James, you are dyslexic, and that is unique. And now I have a PhD in philosophy, a bachelor's in humanity. I have helped wrote and taught centrality courses for over 30 years. Now, I value that, and I really expect other people to value that because that's a lot of knowledge and then a lot of time me
Yeah.
that took me to do that.
And
Yeah.
you really you got very, very lucky with that teacher, because a lot of teachers, if you had done that, they would either, accuse you of trying to be the class clown. They would accuse you of not paying attention. They would accuse you of whatever. Or even if they did have an understanding that you were dyslexic, they would then say, oh my gosh, you have dyslexia. You are, that you have a disease, that this is some kind of mental illness that we have to immediately get you assessed for and get you treated for. But I've actually heard and found out that people who are dyslexic are one of the few people who can conceptualize concepts, not just like objects in space, but concepts in a three-dimensional way where they can look at like values and conceptual ideas from a like an omnidirectional perspective, which is almost, I dare I say, almost godlike in perception. If we're talking about perception and how we see things, most people can only see things from like one direction or like maybe three or four directions. But I hear that dyslexic people are able to flip things around. They're literally able to move these concepts and rearrange them, which is why they can become extremely studious and extremely intelligent, should they be given the encouragement and the support that they need to really be lifted up in their lives and in their careers, which obviously you were. Like, people really believed in your intelligence and in your capability, which you got very lucky with that.
Thank you. And my grandmother would call it insight.
I think she was insightful.
I think she would too. She sat there and read the Bible, and she
So
would sit there and read
so
the
how
Bible.
do you think that
I was just
solving
saying,
this issue, I'm so sorry, I keep stepping over your words. You go ahead
okay,
and finish your
I
thought.
was going to say, okay, she would sit there and read the Bible, and not say anything else or try to interpret to us or nothing. But she always said, "Now you take it and make it your own." And and I heard that so many times from her. And the learning, the education that I gave myself just from listening to her. I value that. So when someone talking to me, I value what I have to say to them. And if they think I'm uh, messing around or just talking off the side of my head, I'm gonna go on about my business. I'm not gonna wait for them to flash on it. I'm gonna be gone. So that's the way I look at it. Yes.
Absolutely. So right before, you get booted, because obviously you got a time limit, how do you think we, either as the clients, because I don't know who exactly is listening, as the clients or as the healers, that we can start to change this paradigm that is still occurring? You would think after all these years we would have changed something, but how do you think we can all affect the change where we can start to be valued as a community, as a profession?
Recognize who you are in a relationship you have with yourself.
Wow, that's some powerful guidance. I love that. I love that, because really it does start with us individually, whether you are the client or you are the healer, and like doing the inner work, doing that shadow work, recognizing what you have to offer, and then being able to mirror that and see that in other people. That is powerful. Thank you so much. And is there anything else you want to say before the time runs out here?
Uh, I'm on. I have a website. It's backgratification.me. And it says, and it's one of the things that I actually created myself from my notes over 30 years, handwritten notes, and then I start to I put them on the internet on the hard drive, and then I turn around and turn it into a website. And so I sit there and read it or even listen to it. So it's like,
Oh man. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
yes,
Is that available on your profile so that we can all check that out?
yeah, just go to backgratification.me. No, I'm on Linktree. I send you the link here, and I'm following you. So I send you the link, and you can look at my little profile that I have set up there on Linktree. It's all of my information.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. And I mostly talk to people, versus on trying to sell them something. I give them sound information, just like I just gave you, and you go, "Wow, that's powerful." Well, that's what the other people will say. That's powerful. And there was a lot of times people would just give me money.
Oh man, we lost you. Oh darn. Well, you're welcome to come back on to request to join. I really appreciate all 42 of you. All 42 of you that have tuned in today, that are listening to this talk. There is just so much to cover here. There's, like, whether you are the healer, the client, whether you've been taken advantage, even in a friendship, even in a relationship, there is just a lot to cover here. We talked about the healer's wound earlier, and about the history of healers and how this has spanned back like thousands of years. So let's go ahead, bring on Dr. Roberts one more time so he can finish his thought. And he'll be on in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, Dr. Roberts. Sorry you got cut off there at the end.
Thank you. Yes, but I mean, it's just also greed and stinginess. People have the capability of giving you or paying you a certain amount, but they want to see, can they get it for nothing, not free. They want to get it for nothing. No,
They're testing your
yes, that's
boundaries.
right. No,
They're seeing how legitimate you really are. Do you value yourself? Do you value yourself? I think that's really the test that our clients are giving us, or even our friends and family give us in those moments. Is like, how much can I take from you before you stand up for yourself, right?
Yeah. Now, I love my sister very much. Uh, she said it was okay for me to date white women, but it's not okay for me to marry one. And I've been married to one for 28 years, and I haven't talked to her in 7 years.
Well, it's great that you respect her boundaries because it sounds like felt very strongly about that. It's a huge shame that she allowed that to get in between you and, the relationship there. But man, respecting her boundaries. And I think that
That's right.
the clients that I've had that didn't respect my boundaries, and I was like, hey, um, I've taken the last 20 minutes telling you about my services. I need you to pay if you want to talk more about your circumstance. And then they get all upset, like, how dare you? That's really difficult. So, I mean, man, congratulations for holding that respect for her.
Thank you. And I do. Just going on by my business. One of my sisters actually came to Reno and told my older brother, don't let me know that I'm Daryl. No, and I'm like, why? And she was upset at me about something that happened when we both was in living with moms and dads. And I'm like, is that really a problem? But they both said that they was envy of me for succeeding as much as I did. You know, just pretty much that's what both of them were saying. You know, so I just said they I said it's just envy. No, and no, but I still love.
That's an interesting point you bring
Yeah,
up. I know that you're talking about your relationship with your family and how
yeah,
how they resented you because of the envy that you were successful and they weren't. But what's really interesting is I've actually had students who got very bitter with me, very, very bitter with me after working with me because, they weren't able to, whether it was, build their own practice or whether, maybe I was getting, more notoriety than they were, and they were feeling resentful of me. And there was a point where I even had one of my students, one of my, the people I mentored, they had gotten to a place where they were being featured in, newspapers and being, shown on television. I was so proud of her. I reached out to her and I told her, like, congratulations, like, thank you so much for like working so hard and like putting all of the things I taught you to good use. And here you are, like, sharing this information that, I shared, and you're even like adding on to that. I was so proud of her. And she was like, oh, I thought you hated me because I had gotten so popular. I was like, why would my job as a teacher, as a mentor, is to make sure that you excel beyond me. If I'm not able to produce education that you can build on, I'm not doing my job as a mentor. And like, I've seen mentors get mad at their students. I've seen mentors get almost resentful of their students for exceeding them. I've even had a couple of my own mentors get upset with me because I had a podcast, because my content on my Instagram was better or my website looked better than theirs. And it's just so odd to me. Why would you become a teacher if you can't handle the results of your teaching coming out of a student? If anything, that would almost make me feel better if my students are excelling in their lives. I want them to excel because that means I did my job. They came to me
that's
not
right.
excelling, then they leave me excelling. If anything, like, that proves that I have done a good job teaching. But I've seen mentors get upset because their students have gone beyond them. And that's almost sounds like how your family felt. It's like, we made you who you are, and now we're upset with you because we're not where you are. It's like, that's such backwards thinking. They should be proud of you. They should also be like, man, Like, we had a part in your success. They don't have to rub that in your face, but they should recognize that your success should be shared with them, because like they took a hand in helping you get there, you know, in whatever that, you know, you can take that as you were. But even if it was my sibling, which I don't have one, but if I had a sibling, like, if they were a part of my life and they were there for me, and even if they challenged me and pushed me and teased me and, you know, made me crazy, that still made me who I am. And
That's
like,
right.
man, your family, that's such backwards thinking. And I'm really sorry that they didn't take the opportunity and recognize how powerful they, you know, their presence in your life really was. That was so disempowering for them. And I'm really sorry that they missed that opportunity.
Yes, I mean, I just said, well, everybody got to, let me make this statement. Everyone is entitled to their own viewpoint. It doesn't mean that someone else have to do it. So,
Absolutely.
so
And the only reason we share our viewpoints is in hopes that someone might peek through the lens and see things in a new light, in a different light, so that they can evolve and change. Whether they change their perspective or their own view, that doesn't matter. If we can just even give them a new angle, that's a huge success in my mind.
it matters too. Thank you. No, I have on my website, learn, relearn, no, to get it right. Learn, unlearn, and relearn your relationship with yourself. And that way, if someone telling me something that I already know, I'm willing to hear their viewpoint, but it doesn't mean I have to take it. But I also can take any parts of it and make it my own.
And it's also giving them space to feel heard.
That's right.
You know, how many times are we in a conversation, like even here in Wisdom, you know, you might say things that I already knew, and I might say things that you already knew. But to give you and to give me the space to feel heard, to feel received, that is a sacred space that a lot of people don't give anymore. And that allows us all to hear possibly something new, or to feel possibly something new that we didn't have or feel before.
Yeah, that's my throne. It's your throne that each one of us stands on. Is who we are. You know? And if you make the assumption of, well, I'm gonna wait till Joe Blow tell me what to do, well, you're gonna be waiting forever. You know? And you're gonna fade away because you are not doing
Absolutely.
you. Thank you. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to be leaving us in just a few minutes, but I really deeply appreciated you coming on. You had so much to share, and you really, you brought up some things that at first I was like, where's he going with this? But then it ended up opening up a whole new conversation. I really appreciate like all that life experience you had to share and all the insight into this topic. Like, thank you so much, Dr. Robert, for coming here.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me, Rainbow. And the next time you read your cards, you know, I would like to get you to read mine.
I would love that. I would love that. And you know what? I might do that later. I don't know. I'll send out an invite, you know, when I do go live. So keep your eyes open for that. And
Okay.
once again, thank you for joining me. And if anybody else wants to hop into the conversation, I would love to have you. You know, we've covered quite a lot of ground in regards to client healer relationships, and even family dynamics, and how that ends up even reflecting into our relationships with our clients. Now, whether you're a client or whether you're a healer, Dr. Robert had something really powerful to say about the first thing of change you can do is to value what you have within you. And the reason that you should value that is because when you start to value yourself, when you start to value your own wisdom, oh my goodness, the app, what a pun, right? Your own wisdom inside, you can start to recognize the wisdom in others and their healing. And we talked about giving people the space to share and to do that. And I have just been so lucky to have two incredible guests on. And now I have one in the waiting. We have Lois Hampton, that's going to be coming on in just a moment. I'm going to let her in just a second. I do want to encourage you guys, no matter how long you guys have been here, if you enjoy what the guests have to say, please take a moment and go follow them. And just connect with them, because I have found that this is such an empowering community of intelligent, diverse people. And I just want to encourage us all to connect with one another and to hear all the different viewpoints of everyone, no matter whether you're spiritual or you're a doctor or whatever you do. I just want to encourage you guys to go follow our guests, because I think this community can only grow if we all are supporting each other. So Lois is going to come on in 3, 2, 1.
Hello,
Welcome,
Rainbow.
Lois. Am I saying your name correctly?
Yeah, Lois Hampson. But you just call me Lois. You don't have
Yes.
to say my whole name. I came
Great.
on because
Thank you so much.
I noticed that this is your second talk or something, and I wanted to welcome you to Wisdom because I haven't heard what you had to say, but I heard what Dr. Robert had to say. So I know if he came on here, you were saying something good.
Oh,
So could
thank
you
you so
reset
much,
the
Lois.
room
I
for
really appreciate the welcome.
Can you
So,
reset the room
how
for
long
me?
have you been tuned in?
When Dr. Robert was finishing his talk, so not very long at all. But I came in the part where he was talking about you. Oh, forget it. I can't tell you exactly where I came in. I'm gonna be real. But I toward the end of his 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, thank you for the welcome. And I do want to invite you in to throw in your 2 cents, because I noticed that you also are a life coach and a writer, and you must be working with clients. You must be working with clients on a regular basis. So you have experience in having that client who just expects you to give more than you should, right?
Yes, I've always the part of being a therapist, counselor, coach, or whatever. Right now, my title is very ambiguous because I'm retired, but I did still do coach people, you know. So for me, it's like I have learned that, and I draw the line, and I tell the clients when they first get me, I ain't gonna work no harder than you gonna work. If I see you're not applying the things, the tools that I'm giving you, I ain't telling you what to do, but the tools I'm giving you, or at least trying to think differently about something, then I'm sorry, I can no longer be your therapist. I can no longer be your coach because I'm wasting your time and
Right.
you're wasting mine. And I'm valuable. And I don't want to give all my shit to a black
Absolutely.
hole. Okay?
Right? That's almost how it feels when you get those clients and they keep coming back, and it's like, they're throwing their money away.
Yeah.
And I feel so, like, I'm so empathic. I'm sitting there going, what a waste of their money. They're not valuing what I have to give, which I know what I have to give is valuable. I can tell you that the 10,000 listeners to my podcast think that what I have to say is valuable. So if
Right.
they think it's valuable and they're not paying me shit, you if you're coming to me to to talk to me one-on-one, you better value what I have to say. It's
Well, you
pretty
know what?
incredible.
I'm gonna say if they don't value what you have to say, then you're not the coach for them. They got to go to somebody different on a
Exactly.
lower vibration because they ain't got to where you are. I can't
Right?
hear you. Okay.
Yes.
For me, this is why I can't be a therapist anymore if I come out of retirement. And I'm thinking about it after my trip. But I don't want my thing is if you are coaching or counseling somebody and they came in with an agenda to just complain and whine and complain and whine. And you have the agenda to let's get this growth going. You're not a match. And the sooner you realize that,
Absolutely.
I fire
Absolutely.
clients, honey. I'm gonna be real. I straight up fire clients. I'm like, nope, Because I can tell.
I love that. I love
And
that.
before
You
I
know,
tell you, go ahead.
normally when we are working a job, you know, like you're expecting your client to fire you, right? I love
Right.
that mindset where you're like, I'm going to fire my client. Like
Yeah.
that is brilliant. I hope you
I'm
don't mind that
not
I'm
gonna
going to
fire them
adopt
without
this stuff.
referral though. I'm not gonna fire them without referral. I may have to find,
Oh yeah,
you
no, no,
know,
no.
but
I keep a good deep pocket of referrals.
yes. But the whole thing is that if you're on two different pages and you've tried for say 5 or 6 sessions to get them off that broken record and they refuse to leave, then why you're not helping them? You're only by listening week after week after week to the same bullshit, you're only helping them reinforce what they believe the problem is already because you're still listening to them like it's a fucking problem. I'm sorry. You know?
No, absolutely. And no worries. Just so you know, I do have
Okay.
children
Okay.
wandering about. So if you do hear, that's why I keep muting
Okay.
myself, is they're playing
Okay.
outside.
Thank you for
So
telling me. I will
oh,
pay attention to
absolutely.
that because I knew when
I
my kids were
appreciate that.
children, they didn't hear me curse at all. Okay, but when they became adults and they
I
18s and 20s and stuff, I'm like, hey,
that's you
I'm gonna
know
say
what?
whatever.
That's how my
Yeah.
parents were. I didn't even know my parents knew cuss words until, you know, I became an adult and they suddenly were cussing and I was like, "What? You guys know those words?" Like, and then with my kids, it's been a little harder because you know, I do these talks and I have a podcast, and my podcast I keep very clean. I keep it very clean because
Uh-huh.
I actually have a lot of clients who listen with their children, and the kids do these
Right.
meditation practices and all the wellness practices that I offer on my show. So I like to keep
Okay.
my material family friendly for all the listeners out there that ever hop on with me. Family friendly content preferred for Rainbow Raja. You know, obviously if stuff slips, you know, even slips for me, you know, I don't judge, but you know,
No,
but
but that should be one of your things when if somebody does it, then don't just mute, just say I have kids and whatever, and that's a boundary. And if they respect you,
yeah.
they're gonna.
Oh no, I'm used on my side because I had two kids my kids came up and were talking to me. I didn't want
Okay.
the listeners to hear that.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
but
Well, I wasn't muting you.
no, no,
There's
no,
no
no, no,
muting
no,
of you.
no,
I was
no.
listening to the whole
No, I was just saying so that you don't have to mute if somebody is saying something, not because your kids are trying to talk to you. But anyway, so for me, it's about me having the boundaries to recognize that I'm not helping a client by continuing to listen to the broken record. That means somebody else got to move that needle so it'll stop
Absolutely.
skipping. You know, it's not me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't tell you how many times I was in a similar situation, like where I was with a client and they insisted on working with me because they got, you know, a nice energy boost or whatever it was. They liked you know, the
Yeah.
massage, they liked the healing, they liked the tarot reading, they liked whatever I was doing. But I could tell
Uh-huh.
that they were almost like a brick wall and
Yes.
they were wasting
Because
money. And I was like, I have these other healers. I recommend you go to them. You know, and
yeah. So it's a
I've I've had to turn people away for that.
and the whole thing is that there's a another podcaster that's on here and her name is Kristen Brown, and she calls it them getting their worthiness cup filled. They come to somebody else to get them to fill that cup. But after a while, the cup empties out because it didn't come from within, and they got to go back to get that cup filled. And the thing is that we can water a person, but at some point in the process, we got to teach them to water themselves, or they got to learn to water themselves. You know, and that's why it's
Absolutely.
a matter of them knowing. how I work and what their work is going to be, and it's clear and delineated in the for me before we even begin. Because, like I said, I'm retired, you know, and I'm doing fun.
Yeah. And when I first started in the alternative
Uh-huh.
health field, I was a massage therapist. And then I started adding on Reiki and holistic therapies. And, there was all these other things I added. And it wasn't until probably 3 years ago when I started recognizing that the conversations I was having with my clients as aftercare instructions and intake conversations, I was recognizing that these were not just intake and aftercare. I was coaching. I was giving them
Yeah.
tools. I was teaching them skills. And I said to myself, you know what? I have value here. I invite you to come right back on, just so you know, Lois. Please
Okay.
continue joining. We spent a lot of time talking about my kids there for a second. So please join me again for
Okay.
another round. Okay. But anyway, I spent a lot of time doing this counseling almost. I don't want to say counseling because I'm not a therapist. I don't want any legalities of people thinking I'm a therapist because I'm not a therapist. But I was doing this coaching where I was teaching people skills, and I wasn't like, people weren't doing the skills. They just kind of thought they were at a spa massage, like, oh yeah, this is recommended stretching. And so I started calling myself a life coach, and I was getting training like on the side because I already was an ordained minister. So I was allowed to call myself a spiritual life coach.
Uh-huh.
And so eventually I got certified as a behavioral health, as a cognitive behavioral health life coach. And uh, now I tell every client, like, this is not just a bodywork session. This is not just a Reiki session. This is not just a tarot session. I'm an empowerment coach. Like, my goal is to give you skills so you don't have to rely on me. I don't want you to come and rely on me. As much as I want to see your face and I want to work with you, I also want you to be self-sufficient, because people in this world aren't. Everybody goes to everybody for advice, and they're relying on social media for their confidence boost. Like, that's a sickness.
Yes, because they're reaching on the outside for what is on the inside. And as long as you're reaching for somebody else to fill that worthiness cup that Kristen coined, and you're not filling it yourself, it's going to stay empty. And then if you're giving from an empty cup, you're going to even be more drained. So they can't jump aboard. So my thing is, I heard a parable long ago. You can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. But if you teach
Oh
him
my
how
God,
to
I love
fish,
that saying.
he'll do it for a lifetime. So for me, it's about teaching somebody how to do whatever. Because there was something about therapy that I just it didn't resonate for me, because I don't feel like it just take that long. Okay, and I was a therapist a lot of years.
I spent years in therapy. Lois, I spent years, like, I would say more than half of my life in therapy. And there are therapists that believe that just allowing somebody to talk for weeks on end, months on end, that somehow that's therapeutic. And at a point, it's not, because all that client is doing is teaching their brain to repeat these traumatic stories, these negative self-talk
Yeah.
moments. There's no action taken.
Yes.
There's there's no there's no shift. There's no mental shift. There's no perspective shift. So I think I of course value therapy.
Uh huh.
And I've had incredibly powerful therapists that have transformed my life through action and through helping me understand priorities and understanding how to prioritize certain steps that I needed to take in my life. But I would say that the coaches that I have had the pleasure of working with, the coaches that I've had the pleasure of, I would say almost endorsing, like, when I work with somebody and I really love the work they do, I will recommend them. I will put them on my referral list. I really, I would say that we have an important part in the alternative health field, that we are as significant when educated, when certified, and when properly ethically trained in professionalism and how to deal with boundaries and all of that. We provide a great service to our clients that is really being undervalued in many circumstances. And that's not just for life coaches. I'm also talking about healers who have been, whether they be properly trained through their culture or whether they be properly trained through teachers who were properly trained. And I emphasize that because I've met a lot of people who think they were trained well and they just weren't. And I hate
But
to
see,
call them out, but
even
it's true.
even in that, when we get to a certain place, we got to recognize that I don't know where you are in your growth, regardless to what you
Mm-hmm.
presented to me. Because I don't have your psychological background. I don't have your physical background. I don't even have your environmental background. I don't know your family, all that kind of stuff. So since I don't know where you are in
Mm-hmm.
your journey, I can only tell what I'm supposed to do by your vibration. You know what I'm saying? And and the thing
Mm-hmm.
is that
Absolutely.
everybody, regardless to whether they were good, quote unquote, because there's nearly no good nor bad, if whether they were good or a bad therapist or life coach or whatever it is, they were doing the best thinking they could from what they learned from where they came from. So
Exactly.
my whole
Exactly.
thing is I this is one of the things I use to empower them. You can't do something about what you didn't know about. Okay. So so when we teach people this, they're able to accept themselves, because a lot of people fall into that, oh my God, I just effed up, or I just did this, or I just did that, and I shoulda, coulda, woulda, and they should all over themselves. And when we teach.
Absolutely. And I think something that, before I forget it, I want to make sure I touch on this. Something that you actually brought up about like people, whether you're a good healer, good coach, bad coach, good therapist, bad therapist, you do the best you can with the information you are given, with the education you are given, with the certification, if you have one, if at all, right, that you are given. And there's nothing wrong with where you are on your journey. And I 100% resonate and believe in that. And I think that it all comes down to the discernment of the therapist or the healer to be able to discern if that customer, if that client is a good match for them, if that client,
Exactly.
if what they're asking of you is within your capability,
Hmm.
or in my field, within your scope of practice. If a client comes to me and they want therapy, they
Hmm.
want me to be their therapist, I have to tell them before I ever work with them, I am not a licensed therapist. I'm a
Right.
certified life coach. I will never, ever, ever give you advice on your life that I expect you to take. I might advise you to do things based on just if you're like, hey, what do you think I should do? I'll be like, I am not a therapist. Anything I say in this session should never be taken as legal therapy advice. Please just take what feels right for you. If this sounds like something that you would do or that might help you in your life, by all means take it. But legally, I can't advise you to do anything. I'm not certified.
Well, I'm
I'm
gonna
not
be real. Neither can a therapist. I can't tell nobody what to do and what not to do. I can't. I have no control over whether they use the information or not. But I do have control over uh, how much I'm willing to, like I said, give into a black hole. Okay, because
absolutely. And you can also have the choice of who you work with and if asking.
right, exactly, and it fits with you. That's the one main reason why, if I come out of retirement for any reason, uh, it won't be to be a therapist again, because saying that being a therapist limits you because of all the legalities, but the life coach does not limit me. And when on my healing journey from death to life, okay, literal death 3 times, uh I've learned so much about so much more than just mental health. So, and under the guise of a licensed therapist, I couldn't. talk about nutrition. I can't talk about all that other stuff because that requires a license. No, but as a life coach, it does not. It requires experience. It requires knowledge, And for me, everything I say, I'm not talking about nobody else except me, you know, and how I overcame are the tools I used. And then I give some tools to somebody else use, and I tell them to listen out for something they think might help them, even from a TV commercial. Okay? You learn everywhere. So for me, it's a matter of dealing with the people that are greedy. You don't have to give into to my degree, because I can walk in the store, and if they treat me bad, I'm not buying nothing in that store, because I spend happy money, and I'm not going to be treated badly spending my happy money. And I'm not going to be given to anybody who disrespects me. So I don't know how that figured into this, but it's just a matter of you don't go nowhere to be treated bad, okay? And when people are taking advantage, and you said we take the other's gifts for granted. When people are taking advantage of people and taking their gifts for granted, they're saying they don't value them. So the thing is that we can accept it or we can let go. But thank you for letting me share your stage, and I will be following you so I can hear more.
I can. Can you hear me? Hang on. Can you hear me now? I'm not sure if you can you hear me now? I'm going to leave and come back. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
With my audio.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Okay. Okay, I'm having some kind of audio issue. I don't know what's going on. I apologize to everybody. My mic was not picking up my voice on my phone, so I went and stole my daughter's headphones.
Oh,
I am
okay.
so sorry, you guys.
No, that's fine. Can you hear me? I didn't think anyone could hear me.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you just fine. It was my mic. My phone was not picking
Okay.
up my sound, and I don't know what had happened. I have like over 50% power. And this happened yesterday with Discord, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on with my equipment. I'm going to have to go and have it looked at. But let's go ahead and have you on. I want to take a moment really quick and thank our last guest, Lois, for being on, because I wasn't able to say that because my mic wasn't working. So thank you, Lois. Please, everybody, take a moment and follow Lois if you enjoyed what she had to say. I did want to quickly comment on something she had said. before I forget it, because I have memory issues sometimes, but she had brought up a really good point about um, it was about making sure that we are setting boundaries with the clients in our lives, and knowing like that we deserve that respect. And I thought that was really important to kind of just reiterate that we all need to make sure that we're working with clients that respect us, not just on a payment level, not even just as like on an active, them taking active action in putting our guidance into practice, but also in like the way they talk to us, the way they interact with us. I think that's really important. So welcome, Lisa. I'm so sorry once again.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm new to this app because they just brought it on, as you know, for Android not too long ago. So I was like, well, let's see what's going on, and I'm very, very much enjoying it. This is a tremendous space to be able to speak with, like-minded and people, our peers, our colleagues, and all of that.
Absolutely.
And so I just love it. So, and I love your discussion for today. Um, so
Thank
at
you. I'm new too, actually. This is only my second discussion. I've hopped on other people's discussions, but I am also really enjoying this app. I'm loving the community. There's so many people here that have such incredibly insightful things to say. And some of the discussions, I'll tune in and I'll listen. I'm like, eh. But there's some really, really powerful, insightful conversations that happen daily here, and I encourage you guys to keep checking out this app and checking out the creators here, because man alive, it's remarkable how much information I've gotten just being here and being part of this community.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I feel the same way. This
So Lisa, how do you feel about this topic? Now we finally got
this
you
is a
on to talk
topic
to.
that's near and dear to my heart. So I help people every day with I call them spirit infused entrepreneurs, where you might be a clinical psychologist or counselor or doctor, nurse, whomever, or just whatever. You don't have to have that kind of thing, but you want to be a healer, be a healer, a life coach, a spiritual life coach, what have you. And you want to add the esoteric or the spiritual holistic to it. So I deal with this every day, and I help people do that every day. One of the things I tell them is you have to know your value. Because when we don't know our value,
Absolutely.
It is very easy for the client unhealed greed to get attracted to us, and then they're able to get more from us than, then it's not an even energy exchange, I guess is what I'm saying. And it took me so long to figure that out.
No, it's an entitlement.
Yes.
Which I talked about that at the very, very beginning of this particular show. I don't know how long you've been tuned in, but I encourage everybody who is now tuning in to go back when this is done and listen to the beginning. I actually talked about the history of oracles, and I talked about how people would come from all over the world to talk to these oracles in Delphi in Greece, and there would be 4 oracles at any one time, and they would wait in line for weeks to talk to these oracles.
They sure would.
And the thing is the most incredibly famous people, William Shakespeare, Alexander the Great, they would come and talk to these oracles for information. And they were revered. And even though they never took money, they would take exchanges for goods. They were always offered something because it was never asked, but it was an unspoken rule that you needed to offer these powerful gifts from the ether, these people who were gifted with this sight that no one else had, that you have to gift them. And I talked about how prevalent these healers now are in this day and age, and how we have taken that for granted. There is so much free information that is so generously given to the populace. And that's not just for healers, that's also life coaches, that's also therapists, that's also, just
It's all of
business
us.
people.
It's all of us.
It's all of us.
Right.
I mean, content
It's all of us.
creation on
All
social
the seers.
media.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage you to come back on when your time runs out. But it's just what you're talking about, I love that you work with the entrepreneurs of healing their own self-worth, because Dr. Roberts talked about
Absolutely.
that earlier. Dr. Robert talked about that earlier,
Yep.
about finding that self-worth in yourself, in order to kind of mirror that into your relationships, whether it be with your family, with your clients, whatever. And that's so important, that until you value your self-worth, no one
else is going to value you.
no one else is going to value you.
So,
but
I'm going to
I actually just noticed the time.
Yes,
I apologize so much. I actually have to go. I apologize so much.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please tune in later. I might even bring this topic up. I have a call appointment right now. I just noticed that we've been going on for a really long time. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Please follow. And I will probably bring this topic up after my appointment. Lisa, I'm so sorry I didn't get to let you talk more.
We will talk again, I'm sure.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.